Alright guys, welcome to this Sims 4 video of this house that I made. When I really started this house, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted it to be modern, and I wanted to try out a couple new ideas that I had seen in some real houses, some real pictures that I had found online and stuff, so I tried out a couple new things. The big concept for this house is it's very small. It only ends up having one bedroom and two bathrooms, but I wanted it to be more structurally interesting and less, like interior interest. So anyway, the big idea, as you'll see here, is I have sort of like a nice glass second story that's really open, and it's framed by this kind of structural half wall system that you'll see in a second. So I experimented with some pillars, some columns, but it really didn't look good, so I wanted to keep it a little bit more cantilever. But at the end, I ended up adding some wall kind of pillars there as supports. So you see the general structure's coming together now. I wanted to kind of shave out that second floor so it wasn't flush. You'll see me doing that right now. And then adding in some more half wall to make it this kind of frame that wraps around this second floor. And I really wanted to make sure that the two floors were very distinct, and that's why you'll see later, I really only put windows on the second floor. I mean, there's a couple that I add to the kitchen, a couple that I add to the den, but nothing really as kind of open concept in terms of structure than I normally have on some of my more modern builds. But you see, I'm adding this sort of like tile-y, very modern looking material that's just white. It accents really well off of the foundation that I used, and you'll see that foundation comes a little bit more into the like path and the patio that I ended up picking. I ended up changing the front wall to be a little bit of a more different color, but you'll see that in a bit. So now I'm just adding some railings, some half walls and things to create the balconies and everything. And but there you see I put a couple windows. That would probably, when I was putting them in, I thought that would probably end up being the kitchen, and it's true, it did end up being the kitchen because it's in the back of the house. The house was pretty small. It wasn't hard to figure out where all the rooms would go, but you see I fussed with it a little bit. Shaving things out, getting an idea of where things were going to go. That's always the problem, you build a house structurally and then you wonder to yourself, okay, now wait, where can I fit all the necessary rooms? So here I am in the kitchen, yet setting this up. It's not super big. It's good enough for maybe one or two people to live comfortably. And like I said, that really was, the style I was going for. I had just recently built a couple really large houses, and this one I really wanted to be like very low footprint in terms of its size, but very lavish, very fancy in how it was set up, and very modern and kind of defined. I was having a little bit of trouble with the cabinets here. I wish they would have a cabinet that is perfectly sized so it fits above the refrigerator, because it's very frustrating. You end up having to play with it a lot. But what I ended up doing was stacking two of the smaller cabinets on top of each other. You'll see me do that right about now and getting them to fit, and it looks okay, so I went with that. You see I put this orange, kind of like pretty bright orange cabinets and some like very dim orange metallic like countertops, and then I add in some orange seating around the breakfast bar area, and I think that this orange actually looks really good, especially accented on. You'll see I use kind of like a navy blue color, particularly in the kitchen, and then again in the floor in the den. You see me setting up this kind of like angle here where I can look sort of a little bit of a definition between where the kitchen is and then the rest of the space, but it still kind of makes it a little bit softer. It's not just a hard edge. So the den ended up being a little bit bigger than I really originally intended, but I realized I didn't know what else to do with the space, because like I said, this place is so small, and it kind of created kind of awkward space if I tried to make it any smaller. So I figured I would just make it a little bit bigger. And the biggest reason I didn't want to have it the size it is because you see the two steps sort of run into each other. But then I decided that I kind of like that. It looks okay. So I messed with the furniture a lot here, and I ended up changing it almost entirely a little bit later on when I start messing with the rug, but you'll see that in just a bit. Putting a TV in, again, messing with the furniture here. I didn't quite know. I always like to have a little bit of everything, a little like a chair or two, a smaller sofa, a bigger sofa if possible, but the space really just is meant to be small, and I try to make it a little bit too big. You'll see that. I tried putting up a wall just to give it a little bit of difference between the two spaces, but I decided I really didn't like it. And you'll see what I do a little bit later on with the use of a half wall around the breakfast bar, coming up pretty soon. So there you see me put in those 2 windows kind of on the corner there, and it's a little bit of an avant-garde style, but I think it looks really good. It's nice and kind of silent in the corner there, but still a little bit of natural light coming in. You see, I ended up picking a much smaller rug, so I deleted a lot of the furniture and just put a bookshelf there instead, and I think it actually looks really good. It looks better small, because it's not a really sprawling space, so it's better being kind of nice and tight. I expanded the floor out so I could put a half wall in and colored it that same navy blue, then I think I added a column in as well. Maybe I do that a little bit later. I was experimenting with these steps a little bit. I really wanted that door to be underneath the stairs. I thought that would be really cool, but the Sims wouldn't be able to walk through it, and obviously that creates a problem, because if you're going to download this house, if you're going to play with this house, you might want to play with your Sims, and it's more fun when they don't get stuck on places. So I ended up just putting it in front of the stairs, which works out. Trying to fill some kind of, like I said, a little bit of awkward space in this first foyer area. But what I ended up doing was creating kind of like a kitchen desk with a computer on it. Didn't have enough room for that plant, so I ended up having to move it, but where it ended up looks pretty good too. So just kind of like a multi-purpose kitchen desk with a computer on it for whomever to use. It's like a nice thing to have. So I decided that would go with that. I didn't add a lot of decorations to this house in terms of just clutter and things. It really wasn't necessary. This house definitely was supposed to be very kind of sleek and clean, and I enacted that by really not putting a lot of the usual clutter that I do, but those could be added definitely. If someone were to download the house or want to build something like it, you could easily just throw in a bunch of clutter, make it look a little bit more homey, and that would probably collect over time too, as your Sims would need to use it, maybe a coffee pot or something. But I'm adding some rugs here just to make things look a little bit warmer, a little bit softer, and then doing the lights, of course. I move on now to the bathroom. I wanted to integrate some of the same style that I had in the other room, but I tried to do orange and it was just too much. I couldn't do it, so I decided not to do orange walls, and I moved over the navy floor instead, and then copied in kind of like a slate white that I've used in other bathrooms. It's from the spa expansion pack, and it looks great, especially the way it plays off of the dark navy floor. It just looks so good, especially when you put some nice steely, the more modern, more sleek plumbing in. It just makes everything look really good. Putting in a little bit of clutter here with some of the towels and things, just making it look like a real place, adding some lights. Bathroom lights are always hard, but that one light that I ended up using, it is great because it gives off so much light, and you can just put one in the center of the room and it's good enough. You might want to add a wall light or something above the mirror maybe, but I didn't see that it was necessary at that moment, so I just left it. Adding a couple more of those lights because, like I said, they're great. They look pretty modern, and they really do give off a lot of light, more than any other light I've noticed. So now I'm up here doing the master bedroom. You walk right up the steps and you end up in the master bedroom, so it's definitely a limit to conventional privacy in the sense of this house, but it's kind of okay because you really only would have 1 or 2 Sims living in there. I mean, there's only one bed, and it kind of has a nice, extremely open concept in that. I had a half wall here around the steps, just kind of create separation from the steps, and also so you don't fall down the steps. And then you'll see I contemplated putting a TV there, but I put a dresser there instead, and then a mirror on the wall back there. I usually put TVs in my master bedrooms, but this one just kind of felt like it was so open and didn't really need one. It looked nice by itself. Adding a couple chairs just to fill the space, and also looks pretty good. And then this rug I always like to use in one of my houses because it looks so great. It comes in so many colors, but I picked just the black and gray, and I kept this kind of very sleek, shiny, the spa day expansion pack floor. It's very, very shiny and white, but it looks really good for bedrooms and open rooms. And then some of the more accent rooms, like the den and the bathrooms, I picked more neutral colors, but it's definitely modern, and that's what I was kind of going for here. Interesting architecture, but at the same time definitely pretty ultra modern in terms of its style. Dressing up this bathroom, I used the same floor as I did downstairs, but I added a little bit more of a cool modern-y vibe with those lights and things, but otherwise it's very similar. So one of the defining characteristics of this house is those steps that go up to the roof, and you'll see a little bit later I add sort of like a nice leisure hangout place up there because there really isn't a lot of room on the first floor to do some of that. So, I couldn't make like a sunroom with some stuff and speakers and whatever. So I ended up doing that on the roof, and it actually ended up looking really cool. So I messed around with the grass a little bit because it looked a little weird, but then it ended up looking even weirder when it finished out being just green. It looked so fake. So, but whatever. At that point, I didn't know how to fix it, so I just went with it. Adding a little fountain in here, and then some steps or a walk down to the fountain. You'll see I then link that, I think maybe back around to the pool area. Yeah, there you go. There, I link it back around to the pool. See what I do here with the pool? It's kind of like this white that offsets a little bit. I think that's a really cool style. It kind of sits inside the patio, but it's separate from it, a different color, and then kind of sits off of the plane of the patio. And then I start adding some of the features of the pool, and then some of the the backyard stuff. I tried a picnic table, but I didn't think it looked quite swanky enough, so I went with some more like plush, expensive looking furniture. This white seating here, a couple tables, couple end tables doing their thing sitting there. And then I ended up putting, here we go, like a nice table for you to sit around with your friends and eat. That's not underneath the roof, so I picked the one with the umbrella. I moved the table around inside. Now it only seats 3, but I did that so I could put a back door and then create a kind of secondary level, rounded off little back porch here. I really wanted to have some more dynamic to the backyard. Plus, I love having porches. I think they look great. Put the steps in and everything, so it gives it a little bit more depth in the backyard. And then having a back door is always really helpful, and it looks better on the inside. It gives the whole house a little bit more of a direction from front to back rather than just kind of like a space. Putting a little bit of flower pots in here for your Sims to do some flowering, gardening. I'm going to go outside and do some flowering today. But doing that, added like some more seating and a little bit of like a fountain mural thing that looks really cool, and then just some hedges around to make it look quieter. And then you see I don't add a lot of flowers to the gardening and landscape. I wanted it to just be kind of like leaves. I can't talk today. Leaves and more just shrubbery. Looks a little bit easier to keep up. It's kind of like probably a nice like modern, just kind of turnkey as is house, and it doesn't need to have a big flower garden. It's a little bit more traditional than the type of Sims that would live in this house, I guess. So I went with the shrubs rather than that. I had another table upstairs, and then of course a bar on the roof and a chess table. I ended up making this wall higher because I was like, wow, if people are going to be up here, they're probably going to fall off. So I should probably make that half wall more than like a foot high. And it also, I think it looked better from the front. It kind of created more of a frame around the second floor. I ended up with all this space up here and didn't know what to do with all of it. So you'll see here, I extend that fence along, and then I put like some roof items to make it look like it's an intentional space. I put like a chimney, even though I don't have any fireplaces inside. I put a chimney on. It looks pretty good. And then, I put the air conditioning thing. I ended up taking that out because that looked really dumb for this modern house. But I mean, in reality, it probably would have one up there. But whatever. This is Sims. We don't need reality. So I ended up putting the chimney there and then moving the TV towards the chimney and rearranging the organization of the furniture and stuff on the roof. And it ended up looking really cool. Then I had to deal with the problem of lights, and since there's no ceiling for the roof, it was hard to get the lights in, so I had to be a little bit creative and build it into some of the structures and stuff, but it ended up looking good. Alright, so here's a view from the front, the final house. You can see that fountain and the shrubs and everything really looks good. Off the side here, there's almost no windows, and I really wanted that. I wanted it to be kind of like window central only in that one floor, and then a little bit in the back when you have a little bit more privacy. There's the back there with the pool, and here's the roof kind of hangout spot. Everything's all good. Here's a view of the master bedroom. Pretty open, basic, but it really nice, super clean, super nice. The kitchen with the orange splash and the contrast and everything, I love it. I love the way it turned out. Little orange moving over into the den here, where you can see the two sofas carry that exact same color, but everything else is like really low toned and natural. And here's another view from outside. from the side there, and another more aerial view of the backyard. Looks really nice. You can hang out with your Sims back there. And here's the final picture. So thank you guys, and I'll see you in my next video.